Hello everyone. My YouTube video for this week on learning teaching interaction number 2 is going to be over my lesson plan for this week and going over chapters 4 and 5 from our reading. In chapter 4 we learned about using stories and how important they are to capture our audience, both our stories and stories of theirs. We also learned about helping learners to take the principles home that they've been taught in our class. And a quote from our book says, "The object of all instructional activity is to move participants toward actions congruent with principles." So if we can accomplish that, they are well on their way to learning the principles that we're teaching. Additionally, we learned about finding instructional balance and not being just the one who is doing all the talking, so not lecturing the whole time, but involving our participants in discussions and question and answer periods. We also learned about instruction outside the classroom, and a quote that I would like to share with you from our book was, "Invite participants to discuss the ideas with other family members, respected peers, or potential mentors." So taking what they've learned and then sharing that with others around them is a great way to instill that learning in themselves and then also share that with others. Something else that we learned in chapter 4 was mixing the elements of instruction. So as Merrill said, each approach has advantages and disadvantages. It requires a skillful teacher to begin in the inquisitory mode. So by starting out your class or your teaching time with questions and having your participants respond to those questions and maybe even move into a discussion based upon those questions is a very good skill to have as an instructor. Now, moving on to chapter 5, we learned about effective teaching and the relevance, respect, and participation as the text authors mentioned is very important. All different people learn in all different types of learning environments and learning styles. So we need to be mindful of that as we teach. Also, with adult learners, that is not going to be the same approach that we would take with maybe teaching children maybe in a preschool setting or a primary setting, because adults learn differently. Another thing that we learned in chapter 5 is about effective education. And a quote that I would like to share with you there is, "In the family life education, it is common to focus on the content and to neglect of process. The relationship between the educator and the learner may be more important than the content of the lesson." So by making that connection with the student, they are then able to learn better because of the relationship that the two of you have. It becomes more of a friendship versus just an instructor-student relationship, and then more learning will take place in an environment like that. A couple of other things that we learned in chapter 5, the boundary between FLE and family therapists. There is a clear line there, and most of us can master that and stay on our line of the family life educator side. But there are some times when it crosses over and becomes more of a family therapist issue, and that's when we need to aid the participant in moving in that direction and help them to find a family therapist in their area. And we can best do that by being very familiar with what is available in our community. Another thing that we learned in Chapter 5 was about the practical applications. And our objective is to foster growth and learning. And I really like that quote because that is so very true of all teachers, that we want to foster growth and learning. We want all of our students or participants to gain that additional knowledge, and by doing so they will be able to educate those around them, and they will be able to work through any problems or difficulties, or just broaden their horizons as far as their knowledge and education base is concerned. And that is all I have for you today, and I hope that you have a great week. Thanks. Bye.